What's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Unscripted. I'm your host and producer, as always, Logan Landers. And joining me to talk about the biggest NFL surprises so far this season, as always, Jay McLovin.
Hello, my brother. Hello. Yes,
Hey,
like I said, this is a great day, my brother. Great day.
yes, it is. Yes, it is. And down below him, stat guy Dustin Reeves. Dustin, how you doing, man?
Oh, it's just going swell, guys. How are you?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Guys, if you enjoyed the episode here today, once again, follow us on social media. We got Facebook, X, like I said, formerly known as Twitter, but everyone calls it Twitter. Let's be real here. TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch. Best way to find all of those in our link tree, which you can find in the description of all of our episodes on all of these social media platforms. Well, let's get into our topic here today, guys. The biggest NFL surprises so far through just a few weeks of play. Now, Dustin, I know we were talking off the air. You got a few you want to get off your chest, so go ahead and let's do. You want to do good or bad first off?
I'll do. We can. You want to just all do good first, then circle around?
Yeah, let's do that. We'll do pleasant surprises first. Who's been a good team to surprise you?
Well, first I want to start with the Detroit Lions. I think a lot of people expected the Lions to win the NFC North this year, especially when you kind of look at the situation the Bears are in, the uncertainty with Jordan Love at quarterback in Green Bay, which it's starting to look like he's going to have a rough go of things in Green Bay, especially after Monday night's game. And then I think a lot of people were kind of curious to see if Minnesota could duplicate the success on how they played last year and turn it into the success this year. I think a lot of people expected the Lions to be maybe that 10-11 win team and win the NFC North. But at this point, it looks like the Lions are going to run away with that division. And it's not only because the offense is playing extremely well, which we saw the second half of the season last year, but that defense has turned into a legitimate top 10 defense. Aiden Hutchinson is a monster on the defensive line. They added some secondary help, which was always their biggest weakness. And going back to last season now, the Lions are 12-1 in their last 13 games. This is no longer a small sample size with this team anymore. Dan Campbell has completely changed the culture of that franchise in less than 2 years. The entire team has bought into his system. They've bought into what he's been preaching. Jared Goff is finally, I think, happy again and allowed to play his style of football as opposed to kind of have all that pressure put on him from Sean McVay the year after they won the Super Bowl. And the Lions are one of the youngest teams in the NFL. So not only are they set up for success this year, but they're set up for success for the next 5, 6, 7 years as long as they want to keep a lot of this team together, which is scary to think about because the Lions have always been considered the joke of the NFC. And I wouldn't say they're the favorites to win the NFC right now, but they need to be taken seriously because that Lions team is legitimately scary.
Good, yeah, good point. Good point.
Another team I'm surprised with is the Miami Dolphins, mainly because we saw how good they could be when Tua was healthy last year. And you see how good they've been again this year when Tua is healthy, and he's been healthy. Kind of the same story with the Lions. The Dolphins' biggest issue was defense. And adding Vic Fangio to this coaching staff has made them a very good defensive team. And when you can score 28, 30 points a game consistently like they can, a Vic Fangio defense is typically not going to give up more than 21 points. So the Dolphins are kind of putting themselves in a good position to be one of the favorites to come out of the AFC. They're putting themselves in a good position to win the AFC East for the first time in over 2 decades, and they're putting themselves in a good position to win their first playoff game in over 2 decades, which when you look at the Dan Marino era and a lot of the Don Shula era, that's kind of a feat that no one even talks about, how rare it's been for this Dolphins team to get a playoff win since 2000, when you look at how much success they had when their franchise first started. And I would say the biggest surprise to me is just how dominating the San Francisco 49ers look right now. And I think a lot of people expected them to be one of the favorites to come out of the NFC, like myself included on that. But this team is just absolutely destroying anything that moves in front of them. Brock Purdy, 11-0 as a starter since he's taken over. Still has yet to lose a game as a starter. Christian McCaffrey is finally looking like the Christian McCaffrey that everyone thought he would look like when he was drafted, 6, 7 years ago. Deebo Samuel is Deebo Samuel. Brandon Ayuk all of a sudden is turning to be one of the best receivers in the NFL after being the number 2 or number 3 option on that team the last couple of years. George Kittle had a breakout game the other night, 3 touchdowns. You get rid of your defensive coordinator and D'Amico Ryans, and the defense looks even better. I have no idea who the defensive coordinator is this year, but they look better defensively this year than they did last year, which is hard to believe. I'm not going to say San Francisco is going to run the table, but if San Francisco loses more than 2 games this year, I'm going to be shocked. That team is just stacked, top to bottom. Now they go and get Randy Gregory from the Denver Broncos. What do you think Randy Gregory is going to do on that defensive staff? He's going to have his way because all the attention is going to continue to go to Bosa. All that attention is going to continue to go to Fred Warner. Randy Gregory is going to have a free path to just blitz the quarterback and wreak havoc.
Yeah, I mean, that team is very, very scary. Jay, who are your teams that couple weeks in who's really surprising you in a good way?
Yeah, I kind of have a few teams and actually a few players or a few combinations of a team. Okay. I think I'm going to start with the person. The biggest one for me is I thought Bijan Robinson coming over from Texas and in the college world and then, obviously being drafted to the Atlanta Falcons. You never know what you're going to get with the rookie running back, but man, Bijan has just been stupid. I think the last one where he flipped him the ball and he caught it on his back leg, and the dude's still doing left, right jukes, and he gets the touchdown. I mean, it's just stupid. It's stupid what this kid can do, and it's crazy. I mean, I understand he's got 67, 364. Kid's averaging 5.4, almost 5.5 yards a carry. I mean, that's damn good. 21, 146 catches, 2 touchdowns. I mean, the kid is just doing. Matter of fact, he is the Atlanta Falcons. Let's just put it that way. Ritter, everybody, Pitts, he could be great if he had a good quarterback to get him the damn ball. Drake London, whatever. But the true star, the true what is Atlanta Falcons is Bijan Robinson. It doesn't go without Bijan. That's why I think he's a surprise. He's a surprise because it's hard to believe that a rookie running back could actually be the weapon of your team, period. Crazy. And then I look at the duo of young wideouts over there with the Rams and I hope I say this right. Nakua, I thought I said Nakua, whatever. Nakua and Atwell. Those 2 kids are just lighting it up over there. We haven't gotten Cooper Kupp back. Nobody cares about Cooper Kupp. That young duo is just lighting it up, and so I think that's a huge surprise to me because I didn't know the Nakua kid. I didn't know who he was until he's getting like over 100 yards every damn game, and I'm like, okay, well I know he is now. And then, like Dustin said, the Lions, man, this 4-1 start that they're on, top of their division. That team's only going to get better. Every year they get better. Jahmyr Gibbs, he's been used sparingly. Now he's got a groin injury, but Montgomery is just, he comes out of the wasteland of Chicago, goes to the land of milk and honey in Detroit, and all of a sudden he's just having the year of his life. Every time you look at him, he's just getting yard after yard after yard, touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. St. Brown, Laporte or whatever, how do you say that dude's name? I mean, the whole damn team, Hutchinson, the defense, that whole team is clicking. Dan Campbell, I salute you. If only you worked for the Cowboys instead of Mike McCarthy, we'd be much better off. But again, that Lions team is incredible. And I firmly, I don't think they get to the Super Bowl this year, but if they continue to go at the pace and improve at the pace in which they're improving upon and keep this team together and don't let pieces slide away, eventually I do think they get there. The last one I will say is Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Bucks. When Brady left, we all thought, okay, yep, Bucks straight down to last place. Lucky if they win a game. Now they're sitting in first place. Now Baker's not having a superstar effort out there, but he ain't turning the ball over a whole hell of a lot, and he is managing the game, and he is getting Mike Evans and everybody involved over there, and that defense is playing well under Todd Bowles. So let's give Baker some credit because he kept this team going in a direction that Brady had them going in, and Baker's half the damn quarterback, not even half, maybe a third of the quarterback that Brady was, and he's got this team going exactly in the right direction, being on top of their division. And lastly, on the good side of life, and actually I call it the good and gray side because they're kind of in that gray between good and bad. It's good because, yes, they're on top of the division and they're doing well, but it's bad because once they go up against a playoff-level team like the Buffalo Bills, they get slapped in the face and reminded exactly who their daddy is. Now, I understand Buffalo's not in first place, but you ain't got to be in first place to be the best team in the division. So just let that be in mind. I understand that Miami is doing well, and I understand they're in first place, and it is a surprise, but it also – should it be a surprise that when they play a playoff team that they get slapped back down to mediocrity?
All right. Well said, Jay. My surprises on the year. You mentioned Bijan Robinson. He's been the focal point for Atlanta. He's done some great things. I mean, Desmond Ritter had a really good game this past week, threw for over 300 yards for the first time. You hope that can continue if you're Atlanta's offense, but we'll see. Another player who's done really well, and that's C.J. Stroud out in Houston. I mean, so far he's, I believe, third in the league in terms of passing yardage. He's got 7 touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, so far, I mean, that's very good for a rookie quarterback. I know the Houston Texans record isn't quite there, 2-3, but just the way he's looked in his lone season just a few weeks in, I've been impressed by him. And as a team, I think you got to throw with the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, only undefeated team in the league still. I know it hasn't been all pretty, but they have.
49ers are still undefeated.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, one of 2 undefeated teams. My bad. So Philly and then San Francisco, both those teams are just looking really good. And looks like we might be seeing them in a potential championship game here if it keeps going that well.
But Logan, is San Francisco really a surprise? See, the thing about surprises, the thing about a surprise is if a team comes from the middle of the pack and all of a sudden the problem is San Francisco probably had Purdy not gone down, probably would have been in the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah,
and that's why I don't have that. I don't know why we recognize them as a surprise when they really are still the same complete team they were last year.
I'm just looking at them as a surprise by how dominant they've been.
I mean,
last year they were winning. Last year they were winning games, but they were winning between like 7 and 9 points consistently. Their average margin of victory this year is 21 points, and that includes that 8-point win over Arizona. You would take away that 8-point win over Arizona. The average margin of victory this year is 27 points. That's just unheard of.
Their point differential right now is 99 plus 99, which is blowing everyone else out of the water.
That's why I'm saying they've been the most the most surprising team because
I would say dominant. I just don't know if I use the word surprise. I just have a hard time with that.
I can see where you're coming from. Well, let's go to the negative side of things. Dustin, who've been some teams, players who have really just kind of let you down so far 5 weeks in?
Well, I think a lot of people thought the Bears would be better than what they are, especially when you look at the offseason they had, the money they had to spend, the defensive pieces they brought in, the trade they brought in to bring in DJ Moore, having the top pick in the draft, and then eventually trading out of it to go number 9. But, of course, you lose your first 4 games. The positive to take away from that, though, is Justin Fields has looked really good his last 2 games. 4 touchdown passes in the first half against the Broncos before they let that one get away, and then he follows that up with 4 more touchdown passes against Washington, which we've seen this story before. He had a 4-game stretch last season, too, where he had 12 touchdowns and 1 interception over a 4-game stretch, and yet the Bears went 0-4 during those games. And then after that, Fields kind of went downhill again. So now it's more of, is the Justin Fields we've seen the last 2 weeks something we're going to see going forward, or is there one of those situations where he's going to get on one of those hot stretches for 3-4 weeks and then kind of go back to the way he was before that? So I'm kind of more curious to see how they kind of do going forward. Another disappointment is more so, I'm just going to say the Minnesota Vikings, not because of their record, just because you go 11-0 in 1-score games last season, you can't keep that up. Something's got to give. I think it's more so they have as many turnovers in 5 games than they had in 17 games last year. And it's not like they're doing anything different offensively. They just cannot hold on to the football. And as a team, you have to hold on to the football. When you have 10 turnovers in the first quarter, that's basically 2 turnovers per game in the first quarter. You are not only giving away points, but you're putting yourself in a hole before your offense and your defense even has the time to settle in. You cannot play games like that, and you can't fight fire with fire like that because it's not going to work. And Minnesota's kind of finding out the hard way at this point that I'm not going to say last year was a fluke, but you have to find a way to close teams out and put teams away when you have an opportunity to. Otherwise, these are the kind of games that you're going to continue to find yourself in. But for me, I would say the biggest disappointment is Denver. When Sean Payton went to Denver, I expected Denver to be better. I expected Denver to be a playoff caliber team. I expected Russell Wilson to kind of look like the Russell Wilson from Seattle just because Sean Payton has typically done very well with quarterbacks. Look at Drew Brees. Look at Taysom Hill. Look at Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston when they were in New Orleans under Sean Payton. They've all typically done very well. not only did Russell Wilson play bad last year, and honestly, he really wasn't as bad as what people said he was if you look at his stats from last year, Russell Wilson looks completely lost. This team in Denver looks completely lost. They have the worst defense in NFL history right now through 5 games. Now you get Kansas City on Thursday night, which I'm pretty sure that's not going to help their defense's cause at that point. So it's only going to get worse from there. Russell Wilson, they basically sold their soul to get Russell Wilson. When you look at the draft capital they gave up and what they gave up to get Russell Wilson, then they signed Russell Wilson to the extension they gave him. Denver's either stuck with him at this point, or if they trade him to whoever wants him, they're gonna have to eat Russell Wilson's salary as it is. So right now, Denver's in a position where Sean Payton and Russell Wilson need to figure things out, or the next 3-4 years in Denver are going to be just as bad as what we're seeing right now because they're ultimately stuck with Russell Wilson at this point.
All right. Jay, who are your letdowns so far this year?
Yeah, a lot of them are similar to stat guys. The biggest one for me, or not one of the biggest ones, is Mac Jones and the Patriots. I do think that Belichick's time in a New England role is coming to an end. I think Kraft even kind of had hinted towards, Bill, you need to start winning. I don't think Kraft likes the whole losing thing. So don't be surprised if at some point, if they don't get this thing, if they start getting some wins between this and next year, that Bill Belichick could be seeing the end of the road of his tenure as a head football coach, at least in the city of New England. Mac Jones, again, he went with Mac Jones. He pulls Mac Jones. He continues to say Mac Jones is a starter, but then puts in a whole different quarterback to finish the game. Whatever. Do what you do, Bill. Hey, look, if you put in Bill O'Brien as your offensive coordinator, that was supposed to fix the woes and fix the issue, and that was the whole issue between Bill, is that he tried to go with these makeshift offensive coordinators. Well, now you got an offensive coordinator, but yet you still suck. So go figure that out. It's either the coordinator, Mac Jones, or just Bill. Maybe just Bill, kind of run the end of his course. Either way, he's certainly not better than Brady. I'll tell you that much. This is probably one of the worst New England teams this is the worst team under Bill Belichick, especially with the Cowboys putting on the worst loss that they've ever seen. So lots of bad things going on over there in Jones and Patriots for a season that should have been a quote-unquote turnaround. Not only is it not turnaround, but it's spiraled to the point where they're talking about letting go of Bill Belichick. Secondly, Dak. Come on, Dak. Dak and McCarthy. I don't know if I'm upset about this, Logan, or if I'm actually excited about this, because I feel like now that Mike McCarthy is taking over the play calls, he's kind of put all the onus on him. And my hope and my envisionment is if we suck this year, which I'm okay if we suck, as long as Mike McCarthy gets the boot and we start to look for a better head coach.
Well, here's a question for you, Jay, then.
But I'm not done yet. But go ahead with the question. What's your question? Hurry up.
Would you be comfortable if Minnesota wanted to trade Kirk Cousins to Dallas in exchange for Dak Prescott?
I'd be fine with that.
There you go. That's it. There you go.
I'd be fine with that. I'd be so, because you know what? No matter what Kirk Cousins is doing over there, Dak Prescott gave me 1,061, 5 touchdowns, and 4 picks.
Cousins has 13-3, so yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, but I feel better with Cousins. I really do. I think I still feel way better. Either way, it can even be a horse apiece. Who knows? And then, of course, Jordan Love just is not it. I think we're starting to see that Jordan Love isn't the heir successor, in my opinion, to the Rodgers and Favre legacy. Nah, I'm giving it. I'm telling you right now, I don't think he's the guy, and I'm just putting it out there. So, biggest surprise for me, and then none of us really a surprise because I really didn't have high expectations for Jordan Love when he came out anyway. But I'm just saying he's still stinking up the joint. Pittsburgh being on top and the Bengals being at the bottom. If that's not a surprise, if I ever saw one, I don't think anybody had Pitt at the top and Bengals at the bottom at this point in the season. But it is. It is the way it is. Not only that, but now Jamar Chase is wanting to leave Cincinnati. Oh, what a time to be alive. But yes, I agree with you on this. Sean Payton, his return to the NFL is a complete and utter disaster. And the fact that Russell Wilson, under his tutelage, has taken a step backwards from Hackett is just even more insult to injury, if you will, because this is the guy that basically rebuilt Drew Brees after San Diego. He rebuilt Jameis Winston after Tampa, but I don't think he can rebuild a Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson could be his Achilles heel at the end of the day, man. God, Sean Payton, man, I feel sorry for you, brother. And then you got Derek Carr. I really expected more out of Derek Carr than what I've seen from him out of New Orleans. 946, 4 and 2 interceptions. I don't know, man. I feel like with Michael Thomas and Olave, and then now you got Kamar and all this, I feel like we should be seeing more from you. And I just haven't seen enough. And that really kind of is a surprise to me. That's it. That's all I got.
All right. Dustin, do you have another question?
No, I don't know. Why would I have a question?
All right. Well, my downfalls, people who have been kind of disappointing this year. Jay, you brought up a good point with Dak Prescott. I did find a stat here I wanted to show you and let you know. So, I know you have been harping a little bit on Desmond Ridder and how he's not looking so hot. I got stats for you, Jay. I got stats for you. So currently through the season, Desmond Ridder has 1,073 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, pedestrian. Dak Prescott, 1,061 yards, 5 TDs, 4 interceptions. I mean, they're pretty much the same player, Yeah. You can pretty much trade them and not much would change. So, had to throw that one out there. I thought you'd enjoy it.
Oh, I've enjoyed every bit of it.
And also keep in mind, one's a rookie. The other one's been since 2017, 17. So, anyways, back to who's been awful this year. New York Giants, mostly Daniel Jones. I don't know if people thought they were going to win the NFC East or at least be competitive, but 1-4, and they are looking every bit of it. Saquon's been hurt this year. Daniel Jones has looked god-awful. Their offensive line is having their fans mad at them with Evan Neal. Not a good look. Not a good look for New York, for the Giants. Y'all mentioned the Vikings. They're 1-4. If the Bears hadn't have been so bad early on, then I feel like the Vikings would have got all that love. But now we're seeing a few weeks in, now they have the same record. Now some of that love is, now we're giving some more of that over there. So that's interesting also. Rest of the teams around the league, the Chiefs. Sorry, not the Chiefs. Chiefs been looking good. Titans. I got 2-3. Jay, I think I told you before the year started. I think this is like one of their last chances in Tennessee to get something going there with Tannehill, with Derrick Henry. It ain't looking good so far. It ain't looking good at all through a few weeks. And then my last one, you mentioned the Patriots. They've looked just not like they like the Patriots like the 70s where they just sucked. Like this is not the Patriots team we're used to be seeing here. Mac Jones is probably going to be gone here pretty soon if he doesn't turn things around, which I don't know if he will. It does not look like he will. But for me, I think it was the just very slow start of the Cincinnati Bengals. 2-3 on the year. I get Burrow's been hurt. But yeah, I didn't expect the Bengals to come out the gates so slow just a few weeks in. I know they got the win against Arizona this past week. But they got a pretty tough matchup here. They got Seattle, the 49ers, Buffalo. Those are your next 3 games. So those are going to be some tough challenges. So I think it's going to be interesting to see. Dustin, you also messaged us saying there's a rumor. I say it's a rumor stating that Jefferson wants out of Minnesota.
No, he doesn't want out.
Okay.
Given how his contract talks went this offseason where he wanted the extension, and then after they signed Hawkinson to the extension, he kind of pretty much said, well, we're not going to talk the rest of the season. It's getting to the point now he's got the hamstring injury.
Yep, he'll be out for at least 4 weeks.
He's out 4 weeks at a minimum. If Minnesota's further out of contention at that point, he basically said, what's the point of me coming back this year if we're out of contention?
He's going to get that money. Or shall I say, get that Quan. So it will be very interesting. Minnesota is in a very tough spot. So we'll see what will happen with that. Well, guys, appreciate you coming on as always. Jay, Dustin, always fun talking some NFL football with y'all. Been your host, producer, Logan Landis. Enjoy the rest of your nights, everyone. And we'll talk to you again on another episode of